Hi, my name is Jennifer, and this is my dog, Bella. She is a 4.5-year-old pit bull Bassett Hound mix. We got her as a puppy from the pound 4.5 years ago. We absolutely love her, but about 12 days ago, she became completely paralyzed for no known cause. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about that today, so that just in case you're having maybe a similar situation, I wanted to kind of show what's been happening with her. And I do have a broken arm, but I will try to insert some video that I took of her the evening before she became paralyzed, because it was a very sudden circumstance. So let me tell you the whole story. For about 2 months, she was having little episodes of acting odd. There was a period where she suddenly she wasn't going up the stairs, and so we weren't sure if she had hurt her back or if it was anxiety related, because she is a very anxious dog. It seems like she has a little bit of anxiety, and so it was kind of hard to tell if it was anxiety or if it was her back. So my daughter took her to the vet, because it is my daughter's dog actually, but my daughter is an adult. But my daughter took her to the vet, and the vet they offered all of the expensive tests, but they basically said that, they feeling her spine, it didn't seem like it was a spine related issue. It seemed like maybe it was more anxiety related. And so it was like, okay. And plus it kind of passed. It was very short. And then all of a sudden she was better. Then she started having these weird episodes where she would be walking and playing, and then she would just set her butt down on the ground and just act really scared. But it seemed like it was always in the same places. And so we thought that she was having anxiety, maybe going through a certain doorway or doing a certain task. And it would only last a little while. And then what we would do is, because we were very kind of attentive and very aware of this little trait she was having, we would go and we would comfort her, and we would either pick her up and move her to the next destination or whatever the case may be. So it wasn't really that big of an issue. But then the last, right before this incident occurred, so today is June 7th, 2021, on May 25th, which was, if I recall correctly, that's a Tuesday, my daughter noticed that she was doing a lot of very open mouth, heavy breathing. And she also had a kind of an odd odor coming from her. And she seemed to be sort of leaking, some sort of a weird discharge. And it turns out that that's probably kind of a coincidence at the time, but we thought maybe she had a bladder infection. So my daughter took her to our emergency vet, because she was not able to get her into our regular vet. And the doctor basically said that, it's because she was no longer doing the heavy breathing. It was just this discharge, that he thought it was just the anal glands. They were done. So he expressed that the anal glands, which as a pet owner, I know it's kind of gross, but as a pet owner is something that we just have to do for our pets. But basically sent her home with a clean bill of health. He didn't recognize nothing out of the usual, but my daughter and I were definitely noticing that her behavior was a little bit off, but it had a lot to do with these periods of this heavy, like panting, and full open mouth, heavy breathing. So she was sent home. I was actually at work. I got home at 6 o'clock. She seemed to be a lot better. She was seeming her normal self. She was walking around. She was playing. No issues whatsoever. Around 10 p.m. or so, my daughter brought her upstairs and was like, something's really wrong with Bella. I need someone to see this. Bella was acting very odd. She was doing that heavy breathing, but she started to drag her toes when she would walk. And so instead of her step, she was having a hard time moving, picking up her back legs. And so when she would try to walk forward, her toes would drag. And I do have video that I will try to splice in about right now. Hopefully I can do that, because my arm and not having used my hand is pretty wrecked. I can't really use my hand, and so I don't know if I can do the editing, but I'll try. I will definitely try. Anyway, and that's why I'm going to really describe it in detail. And so she'd be dragging her feet, and then her legs started kind of cross, and then her butt started dropping. So she would kind of walk, and then her butt would kind of drop to the ground. Her legs would kind of give out. And so this is on Tuesday night at between 10 and about 11 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, she started exhibiting absolutely, oh God, it was terrible. It was honestly a terrible sight. She was, had her head fully extended, panting. She became very stiff, like her body, her arms became like outstretched, and her body was like in like a spasm. So her body was all of her limbs were stretched out. She was completely not aware of us at that point at all. She had sort of gone in almost like inside of herself, where she was just trying to survive. And we really did not know if she was going to make it through the night. It was absolutely terrible. At one point, I picked her up and I tried to just hold her. I tried to lay on the couch. I just tried to hold her and comfort her, but she was literally stiff as a board, where she did not conform to my arm, to me holding her. She couldn't like trying to put her head like on the pillow next to me. Her body was so stiff, and it looked almost like, so I did all this research that night, and it looked kind of like tetanus, where the body becomes completely stiff. And I was like, oh my God, this is just terrible. And the problem is, where we live, we don't have a 24-hour emergency vet. Our emergency vet has daytime hours, because we actually live in kind of a small town. So we don't have a lot of the resources of a big city. So anyway, very distressful evening. It was just a horrible night. So I had laid her on, because I couldn't cuddle with her, and I had to work the next day. I needed to sleep. But so I laid her on the opposite couch, and I slept down on the couch so I could watch her all night. I laid her on this couch right here, literally with her body stretched out. And I just, tried to make her as comfortable as possible. I tried to drip some water into her mouth just to try to get some liquids, keep her hydrated. And I guess at some point I must have fallen asleep. Well, this is just, it was one of those moments where I woke up in the morning and she was sitting on the ground in front of the couch, looking up at me on the couch. So she had pulled herself, she must have come to, her body relaxed. She must have come to and dragged herself around the coffee table. So when I woke up, she's the first thing that I saw was her sitting down, her looking up at me. So I immediately jumped up and I was like, okay, I don't know if she's going to have another attack, another spasm, or whatever that thing was. And so I quickly went and I got some dog food, and I hand fed her some dog food, which she ate like no problem, but her legs weren't moving at all. She dragged her legs in order to get to where I was. So we were like, oh my God, like what has happened? And so I called our local vet, and they could not see her. So I called a second vet that we had gone to in the past. And so that was actually even closer to our house, but it was one that we had started Bella with, and then we had switched to a new vet when we found a new place that had a little bit more openings. They weren't as busy because they were a new vet. And so they were able to get us in, and because I called at 8:02. I mean, they opened at 8. I was on the phone to get an emergency appointment. We were able to get her in at 10 o'clock, still completely paralyzed in her legs. We were able to get her to drink some water, which was fantastic. I was so relieved to get her to drink some water. We were able to get her, had the food in her. So we bundled her up in a blanket. We took her to the vet. We still are on, I live in California. And so with our vet, we have to basically, you go into the parking lot and then you call them on the phone. You say, okay, I'm here. And they come out, They come out, get the animal, and take the animal into the office. We are not allowed to go into the vet's office because of COVID. And so that they took her, and she came back very quickly. The doctor came out and told us that basically she was deeply paralyzed. that they did not know why, but they did not feel that they had the resources to be able to accommodate any sort of diagnosis or treatment plan at their facility. And so they referred us about 15 miles away. There was a 24-hour emergency vet in a whole different county, like over the mountain from us. And so we were like, yes, we will definitely go. So we got her back in the car. Our vet called that facility and said, okay, they're on their way. We got there. They basically told us that they recommended an MRI, but then they quoted us the MRI price between $3,000 and $6,000 because of the number of images they would apparently have to do. So it was going to range between $3,000 and $6,000 for the MRI. And if there was something they could do surgically, they quoted us between $10,000 and $12,000 for a surgical procedure. And so that's just not something that we can handle financially. And we had sort of already prepared ourselves to what we were going to do in the situation. And we knew, I mean, we absolutely love Bella, so there's no chance we would ever put her to sleep. And they gave us that option. And it was like, no, we're definitely not putting her to sleep. We would rather live our lives with a paralyzed dog than to put her to sleep. So what I asked them, I was like, well, can you do blood work? Can you do at least x-rays? Can we at least see, is this a slipped disc? Did she break her back? Did something happen with her spine? So they said that yes, they would do that. And so we did do that. That total came out to, it was like $800 and some odd dollars for that part of it, for the blood work. Blood work, totally clear. X-rays, totally clear. There was nothing identifiable that came out in any of the tests. And so we still have no idea why she's paralyzed. What we were told is to keep her very quiet. We were supposed to put her, they recommend to put the dogs that are newly paralyzed into an area where they will not have very much mobility, where it'll be very quiet for them to rest, because this is a very crucial time for them not to get to like either, if there is any recovery possible, they need to not aggravate whatever injury or whatever has happened. They don't want it to get worse. They don't want it to progress. And so we're advised to keep the dog in the crate, but we have a large crate, but because of her being paralyzed, she has lost, bladder and bowel control. And so we were not physically able, to do that. And the thing is, this is like kind of a little word of warning also, is after we had spent the day out in the vet, when we got home, we were all exhausted. We had been given painkillers, steroids, and a sedative for Bella from this facility. Later on, we went to a therapist, like a dog, like a physiologist for dogs, and they also gave us a muscle relaxer also. So those are the 4 medications that she was prescribed. Well, when we had gotten home, we had been out since, we've been dealing with this all night, so we were exhausted. We had literally been out of our home since 9:30 in the morning. It was now about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We had just gotten home. We had just gotten some food. We were needing to kind of do a little bit of self-care. So, I mean, I was trying to rest on the couch. I just finally got some food. My daughter, who is 24 years old, she had just gotten some food. But what we did is we immediately started watching YouTube videos on how to take care of a paralyzed dog. And one of the videos we watched was this gal who was showing how to help the dog go to the bathroom, because Bella had barely peed at all for like 24 full hours. And so we wanted to help her go to the bathroom. Well, my daughter, and this is completely, this is just additional information, just as kind of like a word of kind of warning. So my daughter actually went to try to lay Bella down in order to help her go to the bathroom, because that's how the gal on the video had done it. She'd laid the dog down and then pressed on the bladder area, and then was able to express the bladder. Well, we didn't realize, or we did not act appropriately, my daughter. And so when she went to go to the dog, I don't think that she used quite enough care, and kind of, I don't know if she startled Bella or Bella was already, maybe she was in more pain than we were aware of. We had not given her any of the medication at that point. And so Bella actually lashed out, and she ended up biting my daughter on the hands. And when I came to my daughter's defense and to try to help my daughter, I ended up getting bitten by Bella, which is actually how I broke my arm. So a word of warning that the sweetest, most loving, precious dog does have the capacity to react when they are in fear, when they're in pain. So we now use much, much more care in how we approach her. We let her know, we let her see us, that we're here. We touch her slowly. We let her know if we're going to be lifting her body or moving her body, we do it very gently. We keep the conversation open. We let her know that it's us, that it's not a danger. Because I think what happened is when my daughter approached her, she just kind of came over and just tried to move her quickly. And we were all so exhausted, Bella included. And so she just reacted in a very instinctual way. And she kind of went into a frenzy. And so she started like snap, snap, snap. And she is part pit bull. And pit bulls are amazingly sweet dogs. This is nothing, but she did kind of go into a little bit of like a biting frenzy. And it was enough for one bite to break my arm. And I also, she bit up my finger really bad. I have like 8 puncture wounds on my left hand. But that's not to say like your dog is going to bite you. It's just I just encourage you, if you have a dog that's going through some sort of distress, that you be very, 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 very cautious. We do not love her any less. We absolutely forgive her. We take complete fault that it was our own, our own sort of, I don't really know the right word. We were just, ignorant to the fact that we never experienced any sort of aggression from our dog. And so it wasn't anything on our radar that we would ever thought would, could have happened. But basically right now is now day 12 from the initial injury, or we don't know if it was a toxin that is a neurological issue. We don't know if she does have something wrong with her spine. We have no idea. But what we've done is we got her an elevated dog dish here. Let's see if I could twist this a little. Okay, so our setup is, so she is in a cage. This is an outdoor fencing that we can wrap around. She has a padded bed, and then we just purchased from PetSmart the puppy pads that have the stickum, like the adhesive on the corners. That is very advisable because when they're moving, their legs are now dragging on the ground, and so regular puppy pads, they will just get moved around constantly. She pees a lot. She has no bladder control. She has no ability to pick up her bottom. And so when she pees, it happens very spontaneously. What we've also done is, because of her medication, we crush up the medication, we put it into a small amount of food, we have her eat that food, and then we give her more food. That way it doesn't sit. Something else that we do is we now take the water dish and the food dish out of the crate at nighttime to try to reduce the amount of like the urination at nighttime, so that she's not sitting in it. Now these pads, we bought the extra large dog pads from its Top Paw brand. And actually here, maybe I can even show you because we have it set up right there. So you see the big box, and then there's little Bella. And what we've done is we also have bought, we've set up a table. Now, also understanding that we're dealing with our injury. So I only just got the cast a couple days ago. I had a splint. And so, I mean, this was what required my daughter and I to go to the urgent care, to the emergency room, to have a splint put on and x-rays. And so we've been having a lot of wound care for ourselves. And so some of that on that table, like all of that stuff right there, that's actually wound care for us, for my daughter and I. And then there is like the enzyme stain remover, like the dog spray. There's diapers. There's treats up there. We have a lot of the pads. So we just set this table up. This is not normally something that would be here, but we really needed like a staging area in order to take care of Bella better. And one thing that we have definitely noticed is that we were given sedation pills. We weren't really using them that much at first because it seemed like the painkiller was kind of knocking her out, making her pretty calm. But she would kind of whine a lot. There was a lot of whining where it's hard to tell if she's in pain or if she's just lonely. So a lot of that, but we have had to start the sedation to keep her calm because she's getting to the point now where she's kind of getting used to being this way. So she wants to play. She wants to play with our other dogs. We do have a black lab and a chihuahua, and she's a very social dog. And so it's been harder for her to be still. So for us to kind of keep her still, the doctor has recommended that we give her about 1 month before we even consider like a doggy wheelchair. There are, because we don't want to do anything to possibly damage her spine. We had bought a calming vest for her to kind of maybe, because before this, we really didn't know if some of these behaviors was due to anxiety. So we were actually in the process of trying to work on her anxiety issues. So we had bought this calming vest like for dogs. The doctor recommended that we do not do that at all, that we just let her be quiet for about a month before we invest, because doggy wheelchairs are not very cheap. And it's a big investment. And if there could be any sort of recovery, we don't want to be too deep. And we also don't want to injure her back. And so that was more the issue, because we will gladly spend whatever number of $100 it would cost to buy a wheelchair, but we don't want to injure her. And I think if we had the wheelchair, we'd be tempted to put her in it. So we decided not to buy the wheelchair yet. There's also bags that you could put around their back legs, so that when they walk, if they drag their feet, it sort of glides easier over the ground. We saw those on Amazon. That's also an option. When there was a day where my husband didn't quite remember that Bella was supposed to be quiet, and he had let her kind of out and roaming around the house. And Bella was like a little speed demon. She was just like, she was just dragging her little legs, like happy as can be, really paid no attention to the fact that she was paralyzed. But she has no use of her back feet. We have been noticing some little bits of improvement. And so I'm going to do another video right after this to talk about basically the progress from today going forward. So what I talked about was basically the day of injury, day of whatever transpired, whatever incident happened on Tuesday to make her paralyzed on Wednesday. It starts from that point going forward until today, which again is Monday, June 7th, 2021. And I hope this helps some people on how to kind of take care of their doggy, and just be patient. And my prayers are with you if you're going through this, because this has just been just so difficult to see our poor little Poochie. And then just the injury that my daughter and I suffered, from this. But anyway, so stay tuned. I'll do another video pretty soon about the little signs of possible improvement that we literally look for any little sign. And I'll kind of go through some of the things that we're seeing so you can kind of look for. And so hopefully me talking about like the cost that we have have seen so far was maybe helpful. All right, stay tuned. Good luck with your doggy too. Bye. Come here, Bella. Come here. Come here, Bella. Come here, Bella. Come here, baby. She's like, Bells. Come here. Come here, Belly. Bellas. Come here, baby. Come here. Come on, baby. Come here, Bella. Bella, come on. eyes are so big, and it's like she's like.
She hasn't stopped hyperventilating since she went downstairs.
It's just I mean, she's shaking, she's hot. Look at, she 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. It's just she's hot. I think she's got a fever. You know, I think she's got a bladder infection. Come here, baby. Oh my goodness, baby. Call her.
Bells. Treat. See, why is she looking worse now? Bells, come here, baby. Come here. Treat. What the?